Hey everyone, it's Kiyoshi from Kiyoshi's Art, and I want to talk about something that almost every artist have felt before. I want to talk about the feeling of not being good enough, or the feeling in which you are completely stuck, being unable to advance your skill in art. And lastly, the most personal feeling of them all, the feeling of self-hatred towards your own work and creation. Note that these are things that I have seen and I have some experience in. Everyone's experience is different, however. Please keep that in mind. Now, before I go further into the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. My goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so please help me out if you can. Now, with that being said, let's start talking about the feeling that every artist has felt before. So, I want to add a bit of an insight, not just as a commentator, but as someone who has personally experienced and constantly does so whenever I'm making art or doing anything new. Whenever I'm done making a new art, many times I'm faced with things that I could have made better or improved on. I'm sure that this feeling is something that every artist has felt before. Only being able to spot your mistakes at the very end of the process. I want to add that it's not only the view from ourselves all the time, it may be views from others as well. I know that sometimes in our case, I'll be self-conscious about posting my art and having people view it. Sometimes we have those voices of doubt in our head, even when people are praising us. Voices that say that our work ain't worth the effort, or that people dislike what we made. Here's a small question I have for you, the viewer. Who is the very first person to see your own work? If you said yourself, you would be correct. This is an obvious question with an obvious answer, but the reason why I ask this question is because as soon as we are done with creating, we become viewers. We look at our own work, pointing out flaws or things that could have been done better. We are our own biggest critic. We're able to point out things much faster because it's our own creation and not another's. I'm sure this is something a lot of other artists have felt, but being extremely harsh on your own creation is just something I, myself, and many others tend to do. As soon as I'm done with creating my new piece, I'm faced with things that I could have done better. Each thing I point out as wrong slowly but surely drains me of any pride and joy I had about the piece. Note that this is all happening at the moment. I do learn to appreciate what I have created later on. But still, I'm sure there's a feeling that this is shared by many artists. We tend to envision a piece that's fully rendered, top-notch anatomy, great understanding of color theory, but instead we are left with a piece that couldn't meet our vision we had in mind. I'm sure this is true for a lot of people, myself included, but we have a vision in our mind that we want to be able to replicate with our hands. Fully rendered colors, complete understanding of anatomy and composition, yet we're only faced with something that doesn't compare at all. And I feel like it's way easier to train your eye to see greatness than to actually make it. You're constantly surrounded by great artists and it's only natural to want to be at their level, maybe even surpass them at some point, but people tend to forget that they also have to train their hands as well. Your mind might know what it wants to make, but it doesn't know how to make it, thus leaving your hands unsure on what to do. Going back to being surrounded by great artists, I want to cover it next. I feel like it's really easy to put yourself down, especially when you're comparing yourself to other artists, and especially those who have more experience than you. It always feels like everyone is a better artist than you'll ever be, faced with a wall that seems basically impossible to accomplish or conquer. But with these mindsets, we tend to damage ourselves and we push ourselves back, making us think that we're worse than we actually are, when in reality, we really aren't as bad as we think. No, please note, this is why it's really important to keep past drawings, because it's just really important to see how far you actually have come. I've been talking a lot about negative things in the beginning half of the video, but I don't want to end on such a negative note. Just like how I don't want people to only see the bad side of their own art, I want people to be able to flip their own view and be able to see the positive side of their own art as well. Even if it's something really small, it can't just be as important as the whole piece. I believe something that people tend to oftenly do, myself included, is that we like to compare ourselves. But not only compare ourselves, but comparing ourselves to those who have been doing art much longer and have been doing it for some time. Remember that it's important to compare yourself to your past self. This way you can learn what still needs to be improved on. I feel like it's still important to compare yourself to other artists as well, but not on the level, but instead of quality. I know that I'm contradicting myself, but just hear me out on this one, alright? I feel like you should only really compare when you absolutely have to, and when you do compare, know what you are trying to improve on, and not comparing the level between you and the artist. Perhaps you want to get better at posing, then you should focus on the difference between the posing and how you make your own look like it, or make it even look even better. Same goes with hand, colors, basically anything. Remember to have a goal when comparing. Don't compare just to bring yourself down. Here's something I relate to. Maybe you will as well. The lack of a goal or main focus when trying to improve your art. I know for myself, I'll say things like, oh, I want to get better at art, but I don't clarify what I want to get better at. Perhaps this is something you do as well. No worry, let me offer you my knowledge. Let's take for example that there are 3 different categories in art: color, anatomy, and composition. Let's say for example that your color and composition are around the same level, but your anatomy isn't. Because of this, you should put more attention to focusing and studying anatomy, so that it could be around the same level compared to your other skills. Now, this doesn't mean to completely drop the skills on the other 2. It just means to put a greater focus on the things that need to be improved on. I know it's very obvious and very easy to say, but it's a lot harder in practice. So keep on trying and keep going forth. Lastly, part of the most important and yet most overlooked thing is your mental health. Believe it or not, your mental health plays a bigger role than you think when making art. Let's compare a sleep-derived version of yourself and another version of you that had like a good 8 hours of sleep. 9 out of the 10 versions of you that had a good sleep will perform better, since the brain isn't constantly in a tired state. I know, I know, a lot of people, myself included, tend to draw in the middle of the night since the day is constantly packed with other things we have to focus on, like school, work, etc. In my own personal experience, what I do is I like to take like an hour or 2 nap, or spend time just relaxing my head. I'll still be tired, but at least my mind will be more at ease compared to if I went straight home from a stressful workday and hop onto a drawing. Remember to take care of your body and your mind before heading straight into making art. Well, we have reached the end of the video, and here's my final conclusion on what I have to say about this topic. I believe it's important to criticize our own work, but to also know what you are criticizing and why. Be firm, but don't be too harsh on yourself. Just remember that you're always growing, even if you don't feel it at the moment. Also, this is why you should always keep your past work. I'm telling you right now, keep your past work. You'll feel a lot better in the future when you compare yourself from then to now. The feeling is actually really good. Hey, thanks for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the new stills and music I added to the background. Well, this video was actually not that hard to make, all things considered. I've been pretty busy lately, so I apologize for the very late delay on the video, but it's finally out now. Next month, I have a very special video coming out, so be on the lookout for it. With that said, stay safe, and see you in my next video.